In April 2022, the world watched as a celebrity trial turned into the most watched entertainment spectacle in internet history. Amber Heard walked into that Virginia courtroom as a known actress and advocate. 6 weeks later, she emerged as what many would call the most hated woman on the internet. And honestly, the speed of it was unprecedented. We're talking about a complete and total career annihilation that happened in real time, broadcast to millions. Before we dive into the destruction, you need to understand where Amber Heard was before this all began. She wasn't an A-lister, sure, but she had a solid career. We're talking roles in Aquaman, supporting parts in decent films, magazine covers, the whole package. She'd positioned herself as an advocate for domestic violence survivors. She had a platform, influence, and a future in Hollywood. All of that was about to evaporate. So here's the backstory. Amber Heard married Johnny Depp in 2015. He was one of the biggest stars on the planet. She was on the rise. 15 months later, she filed for divorce and obtained a temporary restraining order, alleging domestic abuse. The allegations were explosive. Depp's reputation took a hit immediately. This was during the early days of the Me Too movement, and the public response was largely supportive of Heard. At least, at first. In December 2018, Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post. She described herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never named Depp directly, which is important, but everyone knew who she was talking about. That op-ed became the center of everything that followed. Depp claimed it destroyed his career and sued her for defamation. $50 million. That lawsuit set the stage for what would become the trial that broke the internet. By the time the trial started in April 2022, both careers were already damaged. Depp had lost roles, lost his Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, lost his reputation. But Heard? She still had Aquaman 2 in the pipeline. She still had supporters. She still had a career to lose. The trial wasn't just about money or legal vindication anymore. It was about who the public would believe, and that verdict would determine everything. Absolutely everything. Here's where things get wild. The trial was televised. Completely, fully televised and streamed online. Every single moment available for the world to watch, clip, analyze, and dissect. This wasn't just a legal proceeding anymore. It became content. TikTok exploded with clips. YouTube channels provided live commentary. Millions of people tuned in daily like it was a reality show. And that decision to broadcast everything? That's what sealed Amber Heard's fate before she even finished testifying. Within days of the trial starting, social media picked a side. And it wasn't Heard's. TikTok became ground zero for a wave of content mocking her testimony, questioning her credibility, and analyzing every facial expression. We're talking millions of videos, billions of views. Hashtags trended globally. The algorithm amplified pro-Depp content to an almost absurd degree. This wasn't organic opinion formation. This was a viral pylon happening in real time, and Heard was at the center of it. And then came the memes. Oh, the memes. Every moment of Amber Heard's testimony was clipped, remixed, and turned into content. Her facial expressions, her word choices, her emotional displays, all of it became fodder for mockery. The internet wasn't just watching a trial. It was participating in the systematic destruction of a person's credibility through humor and viral content. It was relentless. It was everywhere. And once it started, there was no stopping it. YouTube exploded with so-called body language experts analyzing Heard's every move. Channels with millions of subscribers broke down her testimony frame by frame, claiming to spot lies, manipulation, and performance. Whether these analyses had any scientific merit didn't matter. They were compelling content, and they confirmed what viewers already wanted to believe. The algorithm pushed these videos to millions. The narrative solidified: Amber Heard was lying, and everyone could see it. Or so they thought. When Heard took the stand, she described graphic allegations of abuse, physical violence, sexual assault, terrifying incidents. Her testimony was intense and disturbing. But instead of sympathy, she faced immediate skepticism from the online masses. People questioned her tears, analyzed her pauses, compared her demeanor to other witnesses. The internet had already decided she wasn't credible. Her own testimony, meant to be her defense, became ammunition against her. The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict before the jury even deliberated. Johnny Depp's testimony painted a completely different picture. He denied the abuse allegations and presented himself as the victim of Heard's aggression. He was calm, occasionally charming, even funny at moments. The contrast with Heard's emotional testimony was stark, and the internet ate it up. Clips of Depp's testimony went viral for different reasons. People praised his composure, his humor, his apparent authenticity. The narrative gap between them widened with every day of testimony. Then came the audio recordings. Conversations between Heard and Depp, recorded during their relationship and divorce proceedings, were played in court. In some, Heard could be heard admitting to hitting Depp, mocking him, challenging him to go public about being a victim. These recordings were devastating. They contradicted the image of Heard as solely a victim. The clips went viral instantly. They were played and replayed millions of times across every platform. For many, this was the smoking gun. The numbers tell the story. Social media sentiment analysis showed overwhelming support for Depp and condemnation of Heard. We're talking about ratios that were shocking in their disproportion. For every pro-Heard post, there were dozens, sometimes hundreds, supporting Depp or attacking her credibility. Online polls showed massive majorities believing Depp's version of events. This wasn't just public opinion. This was a digital mob, and Amber Heard was the target. Witness after witness seemed to contradict Heard's account or support Depp's. Former employees, police officers, friends, the parade of testimony didn't go in Heard's favor. Even witnesses meant to support her were picked apart online. Every inconsistency, every perceived weakness in their testimony was amplified across social media. The trial wasn't just happening in that Virginia courtroom. It was being relitigated in real time by millions of amateur lawyers, and Heard was losing badly in both venues. Outside the courthouse, Depp fans camped out. They held signs, chanted support, created a carnival atmosphere. When Depp arrived, they cheered like he was a rock star. When Heard arrived, she faced jeers and mockery. The scene outside became its own content stream, broadcast globally. The visual contrast was striking. Depp had an army of visible, vocal supporters. Heard walked into court through a gauntlet of hostility every single day. The optics were terrible and inescapable. Celebrities started weighing in, and most weren't on Heard's side. Social media posts from various public figures expressed support for Depp or skepticism about Heard. Some were subtle, others explicit. Each celebrity statement added fuel to the fire and gave permission to their followers to pile on. The few celebrities who defended Heard or urged caution were themselves attacked. The message was clear: supporting Amber Heard was social suicide. The industry was watching, and they were taking notes. One of the most damaging moments for Heard was the semantic debate over her divorce settlement donation. She had publicly stated she donated her entire $7 million settlement to charity. But under cross-examination, it emerged she had pledged it but not yet fully paid it. She insisted pledge and donate were synonymous. The internet disagreed violently. This became Exhibit A in the case that Amber Heard was dishonest. Whether the distinction mattered legally became irrelevant. The damage was done. By the time closing arguments came around, the narrative was set. Depp's team painted Heard as an abuser who had lied to destroy his career and reputation. Heard's team argued she was a domestic violence victim being re-victimized by the trial and the internet mob. Both arguments had evidence. Both had emotional weight. But in the court of public opinion, Heard had already lost. The jury still had to deliberate, but millions had already made up their minds. The verdict would just make it official. June 1, 2022. The jury reached a verdict. They found that Amber Heard had defamed Johnny Depp on all 3 counts. They awarded him over $10 million in damages. Heard won 1 count of her countersuit but was awarded only $2 million. The disparity was stark. The legal system had spoken, and it largely sided with Depp. Outside the courthouse, his supporters erupted in celebration. On social media, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Amber Heard wasn't just a loser in court. She was vindicated as a liar in the eyes of millions. The hours after the verdict were brutal for Heard. Social media exploded with celebration posts, mocking memes, and brutal commentary. The hashtags were merciless. Think pieces declaring the death of Me Too were published within hours. Heard released a statement expressing disappointment and concern for other women. It was drowned out by the noise. The internet had what it wanted: validation that Amber Heard was the villain of this story, and the piling on reached fever pitch. It was total. In the days following the verdict, something telling happened. Hollywood went quiet on Amber Heard. No statements of support from co-stars, no industry figures defending her, no one willing to publicly stand by her. The silence was deafening and strategic. In an industry built on relationships and public perception, Amber Heard had become toxic. Association with her was a liability. The same industry that had once supported her advocacy had now completely abandoned her. She was alone. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was still scheduled for release. Heard had filmed her role as Mara before the trial. But during testimony, she claimed her part had been significantly reduced, that she had to fight to keep what little remained. After the verdict, online campaigns demanding her removal from the film intensified. Petitions gathered millions of signatures. Warner Brothers faced immense pressure. Whether they had already cut her role or did so in response to the backlash became almost irrelevant. Her presence in the film became a liability. In the months following the trial, Amber Heard's career opportunities evaporated. No new projects were announced. No casting news, no endorsements, no public appearances at industry events. She had gone from a working actress with a recognizable name to essentially unhireable. In Hollywood, perception is reality, and the perception was clear: Amber Heard was a pariah. Casting her meant inviting controversy, boycotts, and negative press. No studio wanted that risk. No director wanted that distraction. She was done. Endorsement deals disappeared. Brand partnerships that many celebrities rely on for income dried up completely. No company wanted Amber Heard as the face of their product, not when she was the face of internet hatred. The brand risk was simply too high. In the modern celebrity economy, where Instagram posts and sponsorships can be as lucrative as acting roles, this was devastating. Another revenue stream, another aspect of her career, just gone. The financial implications alone were staggering. Heard's social media became a nightmare. Every post was flooded with hateful comments, mockery, and calls for her to disappear from public life. The ratio of negative to positive engagement was so extreme that maintaining any kind of normal social media presence became impossible. She posted occasionally statements about the trial or personal updates, but they were immediately buried under avalanches of hostility. Her follower count, her engagement, her entire online presence became a testament to how thoroughly the internet had rejected her. This wasn't just an American phenomenon. The trial and its aftermath went global. Countries around the world followed the case, and the negative sentiment toward Heard was international. Foreign media covered her downfall, international social media users participated in the mockery, and the stain on her reputation spread worldwide. There was nowhere to rebrand, no international market where she could escape the verdict of public opinion. The internet is global, and so was her cancellation. It was complete and total. Heard announced she would appeal the verdict. Her legal team argued errors in the trial, unfair rulings, and the impossibility of a fair trial given the media circus. It was a reasonable legal strategy, but in the court of public opinion, it looked like refusal to accept responsibility. The narrative became that she couldn't just take the loss and disappear. Every legal filing, every statement from her team, was met with fresh waves of mockery and anger. Even her attempt to use the legal system to clear her name was held against her. Beyond reputation, Heard faced financial devastation. She owed millions in damages and had mounting legal bills. Without work, without endorsements, without income streams, the question became how she would even pay the judgment. Reports suggested she couldn't afford it. Her homeowner's insurance became a topic of discussion regarding whether it would cover defamation damages. The woman who had once been married to one of the world's biggest movie stars was now facing potential bankruptcy. The fall was complete in every dimension: professional, social, and financial. In an attempted damage control, Heard participated in interviews and a documentary exploring her side of the story. She spoke about the abuse allegations, the trial, and the internet response. But these efforts largely failed to move public opinion. Critics said she was playing the victim. Supporters said she was being silenced. The interviews themselves became content for further mockery. Every attempt to rehabilitate her image seemed to backfire. The narrative was set, and nothing she said could change it. She was trapped. The contrast with Johnny Depp's post-trial trajectory couldn't be starker. While Heard faced exile, Depp experienced a career renaissance. Film projects were announced. He received standing ovations at film festivals. His public appearances were met with adoration. The internet that destroyed Heard celebrated his vindication and return. Two people walked out of that courtroom, but their paths could not have been more different. One rose from the ashes. The other was buried by them. That's the power of public opinion in the internet age. In December 2022, Heard settled the case. She agreed to pay Depp $1 million, a significant reduction from the judgment but still a massive sum for someone with no income. In her statement, she said she'd lost faith in the American legal system. Depp's statement said it was never about the money. The settlement meant no appeal, no continued legal battle, but also no vindication for Heard. It looked like capitulation. It looked like she couldn't win and gave up. The narrative of her complete defeat was cemented. By 2023, reports emerged that Heard had moved to Spain with her daughter. She was spotted living a quiet life in Madrid, far from Hollywood, far from the spotlight. It was presented as a fresh start, but it looked like exile. The woman who had walked red carpets and starred in blockbusters was now hiding on another continent. Whether it was strategic retreat or forced exile didn't matter. The result was the same: Amber Heard had been driven out of the industry and the country entirely. The distance was both geographic and professional. By any metric you choose, Amber Heard had become the most hated woman on the internet. Search her name and the results are overwhelming in their negativity. Social media sentiment remains crushingly hostile. She's referenced as a cautionary tale, a punchline, a symbol. Multiple articles and analyses have literally given her that title, the most hated woman on the internet. It's not hyperbole. The data supports it. The sustained, global, intense hatred directed at her has few modern parallels. It's a level of public loathing that's difficult to come back from. Hollywood operates on an unofficial blacklist system. You don't need formal announcements. When someone becomes too controversial, too risky, too damaged, they simply stop getting calls. Amber Heard is on that blacklist. No studio wants the backlash. No director wants the distraction. No co-star wants the association. In an industry where reputation is currency, hers is worthless. The blacklist isn't always permanent. Careers have been rehabilitated before, but for Heard, there's no sign of that happening. The door isn't just closed. It's welded shut. The trial had broader implications beyond just Heard's career. Many saw it as a backlash against the Me Too movement itself. The argument went, here's a woman who made abuse allegations, positioned herself as a victim and advocate, and was proven to be dishonest. For critics of Me Too, it was validation. For supporters, it was a terrifying example of how abuse victims could be disbelieved and destroyed. The trial became a cultural battleground, and Heard became the symbol of dishonest accusers. Fair or not, that's the role she came to occupy in the broader cultural conversation. Psychologists and cultural commentators tried to understand why the hatred toward Heard was so intense and sustained. Some pointed to misogyny and the internet's historical treatment of women. Others noted the satisfaction of seeing someone perceived as dishonest exposed. The trial provided clear heroes and villains, and people loved that narrative simplicity. The livestream format created parasocial investment. People felt like they knew the truth because they watched it unfold. Whatever the reasons, the result was unprecedented. A perfect storm of factors that created the most hated woman on the internet. Here's the thing about the internet, it never forgets. Every moment of that trial is archived. Every mocking meme is saved. Every article about her downfall is searchable forever. Years from now, decades from now, anyone searching Amber Heard's name will find this. The trial, the verdict, the hatred, it's her permanent digital record. There's no escaping it, no outliving it. In the pre-internet age, careers could be quietly rebuilt after scandals faded from memory. But memory doesn't fade anymore. It's all stored in the cloud, forever accessible, forever defining. Heard still has some supporters. Domestic violence advocates who believe her story. Feminists who see the trial as a misogynistic pile-on. People who question whether justice was served or whether the internet mob rendered a fair trial impossible. These voices exist, but they're drowned out by the overwhelming majority. They face harassment themselves for defending her. The power dynamic is so lopsided that supporting Amber Heard publicly requires courage and brings consequences. The mob has spoken, and dissent is not tolerated. Even sympathy is controversial. When Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom finally released in December 2023, Heard's role was minimal. Whether it was cut before or after the trial became a matter of debate, but the result was clear. She barely appeared in the film. The marketing completely avoided her. Interviews focused on other cast members. Her presence was an embarrassment the studio wanted to minimize. The film underperformed, and while many factors contributed, some blamed her involvement. Even her reduced presence was seen as toxic. It might well be her last major studio film appearance ever. The question becomes, is there a path back for Amber Heard? Can her career ever recover? History suggests it's unlikely. The combination of legal defeat, financial ruin, industry exile, and sustained public hatred is just too much. Celebrities have come back from scandals before, but usually with time, public contrition, and shifting narratives. None of those factors are working in Heard's favor. The narrative isn't shifting. The public isn't forgiving. The industry isn't calling. For all practical purposes, her career as a Hollywood actress is over. The destruction is complete. Amber Heard's story has become a cautionary tale in Hollywood and beyond. It's a warning about the power of public perception, the danger of televised trials in the social media age, and how quickly a career can be destroyed. Film schools will study this case. PR professionals will use it as an example of irreparable damage. Future celebrities facing scandals will look at what happened to Heard and be terrified. Whether the tale's lesson is about the dangers of dishonesty or the cruelty of internet mobs depends on who's telling it. But everyone agrees, it's a warning. What's remarkable is the speed. 6 weeks. That's how long it took to go from actress and advocate to the most hated woman on the internet. 6 weeks of televised trial, viral content, and mounting public fury. Careers used to die slowly, through a series of failures or scandals that accumulated over years. Amber Heard's career was annihilated in real time, broadcast live, for the world to watch. The internet compressed what might have taken years into weeks. We watched her destruction the way we watch reality TV. It was entertainment, and she was the villain. Legal experts remain divided on whether the trial was fair, whether the verdict was just, whether defamation law was appropriately applied. Those debates continue in academic circles. But they're irrelevant to Heard's career and reputation. The court of public opinion doesn't care about legal nuance. It saw what it wanted to see and rendered its own verdict. That verdict wasn't just about defamation. It was about her character, her honesty, her worth as a person. And the internet found her guilty on all counts. No appeal will change that. No settlement will erase it. What we witnessed with Amber Heard was a new kind of public destruction. It combined traditional media, social media, live streaming, viral content, and algorithmic amplification into something unprecedented. The mechanisms that can make someone famous overnight worked in reverse to destroy someone completely. Every tool of modern communication was weaponized against her. Every platform became a venue for mockery and judgment. We're still figuring out the implications of this kind of instant, total, globally coordinated reputation annihilation. Amber Heard was the test case, and the results were devastating. Amber Heard's legacy is now inseparable from the trial. Whatever she achieved as an actress, whatever advocacy work she did, it's all overshadowed by those 6 weeks in Virginia. She'll be remembered not for her roles but for her downfall. Not for her activism but for the verdict against her. It's a brutal kind of legacy, defined entirely by failure and public hatred. For someone who once had ambitions of stardom and impact, it's a tragic ending. Her career didn't just end. It was publicly executed, and millions watched and cheered. So here we are. Amber Heard, once a rising Hollywood actress, now lives in quiet exile in Spain. No upcoming projects, no industry presence, no public life beyond occasional paparazzi photos. The transformation from actress to pariah is complete. Hollywood has moved on without her. The internet has found new targets for its fury. But the damage to her remains permanent. She is, by virtually every measure, the most hated woman on the internet. Her career was destroyed in real time, broadcast globally, and she has no path back. This is what total professional annihilation looks like in the digital age. If there's a takeaway from all this, it's about the terrifying power of modern public opinion. The combination of social media, live streaming, viral content, and algorithmic amplification creates a machine that can destroy someone completely in a matter of weeks. Whether that destruction is deserved is almost beside the point. The capability exists. We've seen it work. Amber Heard's career was fed into that machine, and nothing came out the other side. As we navigate this new landscape where everyone is one viral moment away from potential ruin, her story stands as a stark reminder of just how quickly and thoroughly the internet can turn on someone. It's a cautionary tale for our time, and the wreckage of her career is the proof.